In the past year in Victoria, well over 1/3 of a million children lived in severely food insecure households. And in the same time frame, more than 2 million households across Australia ran out of food. I'm honoured to have David McNamara, the CEO of FoodBank Victoria, this morning to discuss the incredible impact and support his organisation provides supporting these families in such great need. Great to have you back again, Dave.
Morning everyone. Lovely to be here.
Looking very colourful there this morning, might I say.
Always fresh and vibrant. That's me.
That's great. Dave, I just want to start off with a question, a very simple one. How do you get your food?
From farms, working with manufacturers, processors, importers, exporters, wholesalers, retailers, wherever there's food that's deemed not sellable, but still quite edible. And then we have what we call a collaborative supply program. So that's where we work with manufacturers to produce products that we desperately need at a very low cost. So there's two examples of that. One would be Vitabrits. So we work with the grain growers who donate wheat. We then ship that wheat up to Uncle Toby's in Waganya, and they produce Vitabrits for us at a very low cost. And then another one we've got going at the moment is with Chobani Yogurt, and they have a yogurt in store across Woolworths, which we get as many of the ingredients donated as possible, and then the profits go to us, and then we use that for purchasing food. And that's the other way that we get food, and that accounts for roughly 22%, which is we're purchasing. And this year just gone past, or what that we're currently in, we'll spend just over $5 million on food, which is up from around $50,000 to $100,000 before COVID. And that's basically just to make sure that we've got the food that represents the Victorian community available.
And so it seems like that need is growing, and we're going to come to that in just a moment. But before we do, how do you choose where all the food goes to?
So we map Victoria across by our LGAs, and we call those neighbourhoods. And then we use data to understand food insecurity in that neighbourhood. We work out age demographics, health demographics, cultural demographics, where there are what we call fresh food deserts, which is where someone has to travel more than 1.6 kilometres to get fresh food. Who we currently work with in that LGA and who we should work with. And then that tells us, the population of food insecure people in that LGA, where they are, and then we know where to put our resources. So our strategy is to make sure that we equalise food distribution across Victoria. Currently, we think the baseline should be 35 kilograms of healthy food each year. And there are some LGAs that are doing that, but most are around 35 kilos or more. But there are some regions still at around 10 kilograms. So we put a lot of resources into those areas where food insecurity isn't being met to the same level, to make sure that we can bring everyone up in the state to the same level.
So it seems like a very systematic strategy you've got in place, and you mentioned that you've increased the budget of what you're spending on food. So what's been FoodBank's efforts over the last 12 months that have been significant, would you say?
Well, I think trying to meet demand in the last 12 months. So around 6 to 8 months ago, we were saying we were feeding 55,000 people a day. That's now up to 65,000 people in the space of 6 months. So we are, I guess, struggling, to be honest, to meet that demand. We've got 530 charities that we support across the state. And it's becoming a situation where we budgeted $4 million to spend on food, but we had to tip in another $1 million because the food is just not available through donated platforms to get food out to people. And we really want to make sure that we get the right food to people. And that's food that's healthy, nutritious, and it meets their cultural needs. So at the moment, most of our food is restricted. And what we do, and what I mean by that is to make sure that we can get equity across the state to all our partners, we look at how our ordering profiles work. So if you're a charity providing food to, say, 40 families a week, you will see on the website, which is a bit like Coles Online, you'll see a picture of the product, used by best before date, and how many of that product you can have. So our charity partners have to tell us how many people they're assisting, what sort of assistance they're providing. Is it a community meal? Is it hampers? Is it a pantry style self-select? And then based on that, whether it's 40 or 400 people, you get a variance in what access to food you get.
So where did you find that other $1 million to purchase the food? That must have been challenging.
We fundraise for it. Yeah. So if our fundraising is going well, we divert the funds to purchasing more food. It's a bit of a balance because when I started 16 years ago, government funding accounted for about 92% of our income. And now we're down to 9% of our income is being government supported. So it just unfortunately means that we have to be one of those fundraising organisations that goes out there and puts out winter appeals and tries to raise money so that we can support those 530 charities who support 65,000 people a day.
So what would be your key fundraising event that raises probably gets the most traction?
Well, everyone, it's now. It's the winter tax appeal. Tax time is that time where people look to minimise their tax, but it's also for us our key demand period, if you like. It's the winter's turn cold. People are choosing between heating or eating. You've got rental going up dramatically, and so at this time of year, in the transition from autumn to winter, is when it really starts to hurt families financially and impact on their food budgets.
And David, we hear in the media a lot about the cost of living crisis, and as I'm hearing what you're saying, up by 10,000 the people that you're feeding, you're servicing 530 charities, you've had to up your budget by $1 million to cover the needs that are there. How do you determine or ascertain that we have a cost of living crisis? I mean, maybe it's rhetorical, my question, but it seems like it's interesting when you see a number of different things where there's, extravagant spending in certain areas of our society and other areas where there's such great need.
I think that's right. I think it's a tale of two cities. Really, there's one segment of the community that's doing quite well. But unfortunately, this cost of living crisis is attacking the middle class, and the lower to medium middle class, upper middle class seems to be going okay. And if you're in certain industries, you're doing all right. But more and more, the people that are coming to us when we do our direct service, our markets, are working families. They've got full-time jobs, they've got kids in school, and they're just struggling to pay their bills and put food on the table. And more and more they're people like me, like everyone sitting here. We've got rising demographics of women over their 50s that are heading towards homelessness that we're trying to assist. We've got higher education students who are struggling to afford housing, find work, and pay for their education. And there's a dropout rate in some universities and higher education facilities up towards 40%. So kids are dropping out with a debt, with no education qualifications, and they're trying to find work. So they're leaving school worse off than they entered higher education. So really, it's across the board that people are feeling these impacts.
David, it seems that FoodBank Victoria always have some innovative programs that they're starting, and just recently, I think in Ballarat and Morwell, you've established these new feast centres. What's all this about?
So the community food centres, but that's an operating model that we're calling FEAST. So FEAST stands for Food Education, Agriculture, Sustainability and Training. And essentially the centre has a farm or a large-scale garden. It has traditional warehousing, it has processing, it has a training kitchen, it has a social supermarket, and it has a social cafe. And the idea is that we provide kids in regional communities and adults with a vertically integrated community food system. So we currently work in the commercial food system, and FoodBank's a beneficiary of the excess or loss in that system. And what we're trying to do is build a system that allows the community to engage right from agriculture and horticulture, right through to putting that food onto a plate and serving someone, and give kids the opportunity of education and training across all those different aspects of the food system to allow them to find out if they're interested in food, if they can see a career in food, and we can provide them with aspects of training to, I guess, spark their interest or confirm their interest in food.
It's truly a remarkable organisation, David. You must feel very, very proud that you're leading that group. When you get up each morning, what is it that really puts the kick in your step as to as you approach the day? I mean, there's so many things, but is there something that's really key there that really inspires you?
Well, being useful, recognizing that we're all just one or two mistakes away from being in a similar position. Some of us fall the right side of a mistake, some of us don't. And sometimes those mistakes can just cascade. So, I had a very fortunate upbringing. I had a lot of, hardships, but I fell the right way. And when you look at life and you go, what does it all mean? For me, it means, have purpose, do something useful, put a smile on people's face, help them connect, give them a respite from the worries of the day and let them see the joy and wonder of this beautiful world that we live in. Just one sunrise or sunset or birds flying in the sky, it's all beautiful. So everyone should get the opportunity to feel that and not have to worry about where their next meal's coming from.
It's a very fitting note to finish our discussion on this morning, and I'm sure there's no doubt that you put a smile and a sense of hope for so many Victorians, particularly children throughout the state and Australia, through the efforts of FoodBank Victoria. What an absolute pleasure it's been, David, to have this discussion with you today, and thanks for being a guest at Monday Matters.
Pleasure. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.